My name's Aisha Mills, and my family are from the Torres Strait, from Naghi Island and Masig. I've been raised and grown up here in Cairns for my whole life, so born and raised. Yes, have lots of family up on TI. Mills' name obviously is very big family name up there. I've been back up there twice in my whole life, and beautiful experience, beautiful place up there on TI. I've been working here at UnitingCare for 4 years. I was employed as the placement support specialist here to support our foster kids in care. My role is, sorry, I'm getting very nervous here. My role is to support placements so that they don't break down. So I'm the only one in the office that holds that role. All the other placement support workers in our team, they all do referrals to me to come in to support the placement, to support medical needs or behavioural issues with children, large sibling groups, and to prevent placement breakdown, because we want those kids to stay in that placement. So they'll do a referral to me. I'll come in and do 12 weeks wraparound support, whether it's internal or external supports with these children to maintain the placement. So previous to this, I worked in childcare for 20 years. Started off as a trainee in my early 20s, single mum back then, had one child, and worked in that industry. And way back then I sort of thought, well, I want to work in child safety. I'd love to help children that get removed from their families, that need support and guidance, and this opportunity came up. I did look at child safety, and I sort of tossed up that, I don't know if I'd be able to do that line of work. I think I would carry that guilt home with me every day, going in and removing those children, whether they were Indigenous or non-Indigenous. I just think that would be heartbreaking, having my own child coming from a very big extended family. Family is everything. If you needed help and you were struggling, you knew you could go to your family or your grandparents and, seek advice from them how to raise your children. So for me, I just thought that would just be too heart-wrenching to step into child safety field. But this space, I would love working in this space, because you're still supporting the kids. You haven't done that process of removing them, so you're kind of not getting that blame. And I'm liking walking with these children to try and support them to heal their wounds of why they're there. From what's happened to them from their family or from somebody that they know. So I absolutely love working in this space. And also in my role, I do sand play symbol work therapy. So it's a very, it's a therapeutic experience that I bring the kids in, and I work with them individually, working in the sand tray. It's very spiritual. It's not talk therapy, so they're not actually talking at all. They're doing the whole session on their own, and then by the time they do 3 or 4 sessions with you, they're opening up, they're actually building their story in the sand tray, and they're telling you what's happened to them without them using words or me questioning them, and it's just amazing. I've worked with a sibling group of 3 Indigenous children, removed from mum and dad, staying with kin, beautiful kids, didn't really speak much, very quiet. By the time I did 6 sessions with them, they had totally opened up. My sessions were only 50 minutes. They never wanted to leave the room at the end of the day. They wanted to stay. They just opened up and talked. And I could see from the little girl, her story that she had done in the sand was just beautiful, fairy garden, and everything had its place, and it was just beautiful. And at the end of the session, when I'd say to her, we've got to wrap up, we've got 10 minutes left, she would just start destroying it. That whole beautiful world of hers, she just turned it upside down. And then come about our 5th, 6th session, she stopped doing that. And I could see exactly what she'd done in the sand. She had a family, she had put a home in there, she had auntie, uncle, cousins, nephews, her siblings, because they all come together and they were all staying at the one house, and she didn't destroy it anymore. So my work, to me, I felt was done, and that was only in 5, 6 sessions that I felt she was healed. She showed me that she was healed, and I thought, wow, my work's done. It was such a spiritual, and you could feel it.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you. Do you find that culture really just is innate in these little people that they don't even realise they have?
No.
And it just is awakened when they're given the chance and time to do that.
Absolutely.
Is that what you see? Or?
Yeah, it's absolutely what I see. And the thing is too, I think I'm not one like coming in and asking them questions about, what happened to you or how's mum and dad, or kids will talk to you when they want to talk to you, when they feel comfortable with you, and building that rapport. And I think also too, see me as another Indigenous person in their life that they could relate to and that they felt comfortable with, that journey for them, it just opened up in that sand tray, and they just felt so comfortable just to have that yarn with me. And the teenage boy, which was interesting, at the last sand tray we did, he invited me in to do a sand tray with him. So we actually did it together, and he, encouraged me to do something over here and sharing these jewels with me that were heart-shaped. And I thought, wow, what does that mean to him? Like, he's connecting with me in a way that's too cool for a teenager, but he was doing it, and he really liked it. And then at the end of every session, I invited them to share their story with me, and they did. Every time they shared what they had put in there, and it might have been a made-up story, but I could tell it was about their real life that they had with mum and dad before they were put into the system. Yeah. So that real spiritual connection with the kids from, the first day they walked in, when they met me, it was like, they saw, I think to them, they saw that I was an Indigenous person and that they felt culturally safe.
Yeah, and that's so key, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. It's so important because I think for our little people, they don't have that cultural safety.
Yeah, or even connection to culture.
That's right.
And it's like we were talking before, like we started to record about, the importance of connection to culture. And yesterday we enjoyed some time together up on Coogee country. And, can you talk about, even as an adult with your own children, the cultural journey continues, doesn't it? And, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so the cultural journey for me to pass down to my children is storytelling. It's, the storytelling that my grandparents passed down to me, our Sunday lunches that we used to have every Sunday as a family. All the cousins would come together, we'd all bring a dish, and everybody would share, and we'd just sit around and just listen to Granddad tell us of his stories about him growing up on the Pearl Lugger days on TI, and back then in the, the war days, and Grandma growing up as well. And my granddad grew up in an orphanage, so he didn't have his parents look after him, and he was the eldest of his 3 siblings, and they grew up in an orphanage. So it was in a Christian orphanage, Catholic orphanage that they grew up with nuns and priests and stuff. And then they ended up down in Mackay Way, when the war broke out, and then they walked back from Mackay to Cairns to be with family. So
they just took off, or
they wanted to come back home, So Granddad said, well, come on then, let's go. And he put his brothers, well, there's 4 of them, but then they got split up because the other one didn't come. So then he ended up going, I think, to Perth or WA, and he ended up marrying an Aboriginal lady over there. And they never saw each other again, until I think when he passed away. My granddad and grandma passed away a couple of years ago in their 90s.
So had a long time with them.
We had a long time with them, but we weren't expecting them to pass away. So when they did, it was just, oh my goodness, this day has come. We weren't ready for it, but it was like they prepared us for it because they told us everything that we needed to know about our family, our connection, Granddad's, hard life, I guess, growing up as a boy, but he never complained, Never complained. It just showed us, never to give up. You can achieve what you achieve. He was a hard worker, a hard saver. My grandparents moved from Thursday Island and brought a house down here, all those many years ago, and brought extended family and children to come and live with them. So that community living still lives with me today. You know, like I'm a mother, I've got 5 of my own children, and my partner and I, we have a blended family, so we have 12 kids all together, so we have a very busy lifestyle. But it's that community, it's how I've been brought up and raised. We've always had lots of children around us, whether it's our cousins, children, or extended cousins from down south. Families, just everything to us, that we do everything together. We always support each other and encourage, and that comes from our connection with our grandparents and their ancestors. It's been passed down. Oh, look, spirituality in me and in my family is quite big. I mean, we're not practicing Catholics or anything like that today. I mean, we've been baptised and brought up in a Catholic school and education, but just spiritually, Granddad, again, I keep going back to my grandparents, because they teach that spirituality in us. My grandfather, like I said, was in the orphanage. He spoke about his orphanage days, but he never spoke badly of it. He always joked and laughed about, oh yeah, sister, whoever, she used to whack me with the cane if we, stepped out of line, and, and he'd just laugh about it. To him it was just a joke, and I thought, oh, you just take that on your chin, like all your hard times of you not having anything and then you went and got it, like that's your spiritual upbringing, that he's just had it in himself. And for Grandma, she was a very strong practicing Christian. And so her faith was very strong, right up until she entered, she had dementia, so Grandma had to go into a home, and when Grandma and Granddad had to be split, Granddad couldn't understand why she had to leave him, and he just said, she's going to get better, and things got worse. And Grandma, I think, was in a home for maybe 13 years before she passed, so the dementia got really bad. Her faith was just ever so strong. She went to church, 2-3 times a week. On a weekend, she helped write the Bible in Creole. Here in Cairns. So that was a very big working project for her and her friends. So it was many meetings of her just always spoke about God, and always, taught us just to praise the Lord, and be thankful, for what you've got, being grateful for what we have. So that spiritual journey came from her too, very strong from Grandma. Oh, very big. So they've left a very big hole in our hearts also too, when they did go. But it's when Granddad got very sick, he went first, because he still lived on his own. He passed away first, he had pneumonia, and then Grandma passed away months later, because that was the only thing that he ever knew to do, was wake up, wait for his carer to pick him up, take him to go and see Grandma 2 or 3 times a week, and he'd just sit there and he'd sing old T.I. songs to her and talk about the boat coming, to pick you up and take you back home, all that beautiful, taking her memory back to when she was, little. So it makes me emotional, because, I do, I really miss them.
So you feel them coming through?
They did. They absolutely did. They came to me when I didn't even know that they'd come to me. They came to me spiritually through that experience, and that's why I'm very strong in believing in what I do with the young people I work with. That it's evident that it just happens in your subconscious, like spiritually. Made me, my sisters, my family, just very strong. And that ethic walks with me every day in my work that I do. And I feel that I'm supposed to work with children and families, have for the last 30 years, so this is where I'm supposed to be, I feel, to help these little people that we work with. I've been provided and given a beautiful opportunity of a great upbringing by my family, by my parents, by my grandparents, all of my aunties and uncles. We've all been very supportive, and for me to give that back to kids in the community that I can help and share my lived experiences with and guide them, great. If I can help one child, if I imprint that lasting memory for one child, then to have the beautiful upbringing that I did, which I'm bringing my children up on, country here, the way that I've been raised, and trying to embed that with them. But just for them to grow up and have that cultural safety, not to have those, those to face those racism things that they might come up with, you know, growing up. I want them to grow up in a community and of people being more culturally aware, sharing that sharing that cultural knowledge that I give to them, that they have those conversations with their non-Indigenous friends and non-Indigenous families, that we need to educate the wider community, because I don't want our kids to grow up and have hardships.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want them to have difficult challenges in their life around our culture or our race, you know what I mean? Not that I've ever come up really hard with any of that growing up. I've been quite lucky to not have any racism or anything like that. I have here and there, which I just, as an adult, I just am floored that people still are like that, but it's the reality that it's still there, you know, and I just want to be able to educate them and give them the tools that you do have to be careful. You do have to know that there are things out there that could hurt you, you know, potentially. And that's what I don't want for my kids. I want them to grow up and have a really great lifestyle, have a great education, and be able to achieve what they want to achieve in life, you know, whether it's being a vet or a nurse or, you know, whatever they want to do. I absolutely support and encourage that, and hopefully find those pathways. Be strong, go out there and get it. No one else is going to do it for you. Support each other, be there for each other.